With Star Trek Picard Season 3 getting a new ending, or rather intro or outro, it is full of references and foreshadowing of future aspects of this final season of Star Trek Picard. With it being so dense, we here at Trek Central decided it needed its own dedicated video to break it down and see what we can find out. Here's everything we noticed from the end credits of Star Trek Picard Season 3. If you spot anything we didn't, make sure to comment down below. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get into it. Like always, before we warp into this video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. As always, please answer your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. You can catch our Episode 1 Season 3 review over here. And don't forget, this video will contain spoilers for Picard Season 3 as we dissect parts of the episode and this outro sequence. Keep that in mind. Okay, engage. The first part of the ending credit uses a theme from First Contact by Jerry Goldsmith. Now, the composer for Season 3 is Stephen Barton, who has taken inspiration from many of the old sweeping orchestral epics used in Trek's past, from Horner to Goldsmith for his own score, but here it is just simply the First Contact theme. The ending credits consist of LCAR displays, as the credits roll on by in a nice TNG blue colour. The first interesting thing in these LCAR displays is we get a display of the SHRIKE. This is a villain ship of Vadic this season. We can actually see it at the end of Episode 1, it's just not named in Episode 1 or identified as the SHRIKE just yet. There is some sort of alphabet on these displays, but I can't really pick out the language. If you can, let us know in the comments below, as it could help shed some light on Vadic and her goons and the origins of this villain species. Throughout the credits, there's a lot of reference to DNA sequences. Whether it might have something to do with the plot, who knows. The next interesting scene is that of a component from a Borel-class bird of prey. What the component is, I am not 100% sure, but the sound effect of a Klingon bird of prey decloaking could give an idea that this is a cloaking device of a Klingon starship. We have seen a Klingon bird of prey cloaking device before in the Deep Space Nine episode, The Emperor's New Cloak, in which Rom and Nog steal the cloaking device from Martok's Borel bird of prey, the Iko Eswataran, and does not look like this, so maybe it's a new one? This might mean we do see a Klingon bird of prey later in this series, or it could just mean whoever made these credits likes Klingon tech. It's a possibility. There are labels for aspects of this Klingon tech, originally written in Klingon and then translated into English. Some legible labels are Waveform Bypass Conduit, Secondary Waveform Accelerator, Diverter Ion Sensor, Shield Energy Diverter, and what looks to be a Photon Spill Window? If these are just technical babble used for cloaking devices, it's not really made apparent if that's the case, but it could be a good idea. We do see some more DNA, but this deactivates itself. However, that's not the only shot of DNA in this ending. Later on, there's more information seen on the DNA screen. We do see human genome on the left, and on the right in very small writing, we see Picard DNA base pairs. So this is talking about Picard's DNA. The central panel looks to be comparing different sequences of DNA. Now this is fascinating, as the credited name for this shot is Ed Spelliers, who we learned in Episode 1 plays Beverly Crusher's new son. This is a very recurring theory that the new character played by Ed Spelliers is the son of Picard and Crusher. Perhaps conceived during that year break that Beverly Crusher took as the head of Starfleet Medical away from the USS Enterprise in Season 2 of The Next Generation. Or maybe conceived once she left the Enterprise in Star Trek Nemesis? There's a lot of questions here for sure, but it seems way more likely now that Ed Spelliers does play Jean-Luc's son and is at least related to Picard in some way. There is a holodeck program being initialized on another LCAR screen, and this holoprogram is loaded up with a 10 Forward bar from LA. We saw 10 Forward at the beginning of Season 3 when Riker and Picard met up, and we are being followed by that strange man as well. But with this saying that holoprogram 10 Forward is on the table, will they continue to use the set but just recreate it in the holodeck? That could be a great way to reuse sets, which has already been used in both Season 2 and Season 3. Oh, and let's not forget, Season 1 made use of the Last Arena, recreating Jean-Luc's study from Chateau Picard, so it wouldn't be a new idea. The program also seems to have the safety protocols turned offline, which is a classic Trek trope for an episode, so could we get a holodeck episode in Season 3 of Picard? Would it work if the highly serialized nature could come to expect from Picard, or have they changed things up for Season 3 to make it a little bit more episodic? Also, we do have Professor Moriarty turning up at some point in Season 3. Maybe he turns up in Hologram 10 Forward. Now that would be pretty cool, and that may be a good theory. The next thing we see is some sheet music. Now I am by no means a musical expert, but I think this plays Pop Goes the Weasel. Now this is the first interaction between Riker and Data in The Next Generation, of being in the holodeck and whistling that song. Does this have any significance for this season? Perhaps an interaction between Riker and Lore. Maybe Lore has some of Data's memories somehow and recalls us when interacting with Riker. We're gonna have to wait and see for this one, as I'm unsure. A brain is seen with a network inside, which could represent an artificial neural network such as those found in the positronic brain of Soong-type androids. Considering we know we're getting Lore, who is a Soong-type android, this does make sense. However, he'll still only be the Soong-type android we see in the show. Could we see other Copolis androids? Maybe B4 we put back together from the Daystrom Institute? We'll have to wait and see. Then the music changes in the scene and end credits, and when we get to the Next Generation theme, we look at a display of the USS Titan A. There isn't much we can tell from this, however it does give us an idea about the number of warp cores the Titan A has in each nacelle. The Constitution 3 class vessel has 18 warp nacelles, or rather warp cores should I say. 18 warp nacelles would be a bit much, it's warp cores, you get what I mean. Now the number of warp cores isn't too important, as there are numerous factors which contribute to the efficiency and stability of a warp nacelle, for material, design, density and many other factors like the coils. Okay, the next scene is the most interesting one, and gives us a bit of insight into one of our characters if this theory is correct. The USS Constance, a Constellation-class starship which was the same class as Picard's original Stargazer, can be seen on screen. Though this is the official Starfleet War Damage Report, detailing the fact that USS Constance was lost in action on stardate 44002.3. A lot of the report is heavily redacted, with a summary of the file only being read as information obtained in interviews. So this we can assume is after the loss of the USS Constance, Starfleet debriefed the crew members that survived to gain information. The registry number of the USS Constance is NCC-1038, which makes it a very old ship. Or possibly because Discovery was new of an Enterprise and that was NCC-1031 compared to NCC-1701. Now what was interesting about this stardate, 44002.3, it's a very important event that happened on that stardate, this being a battle of Wolf 359. So we can presume that the USS Constance was one of the 39 starships destroyed by the Borg cube, and in part, Locutus of Borg. Now, if we go a step further, this could explain why Captain Liam Shaw had such venom in his mouth when talking about X-Borg at the dinner table in the first episode of Season 3 of Picard. It is likely that he is a crew member of the USS Constance, and just like with Sisko, with the USS Saratoga, holds it against Picard, even though this concept has been done between Sisko and Picard way many years ago. That was only during the episode pilot. This might have massive ramifications if we get more episodes with Captain Shaw and Admiral Picard. He likely does not trust Picard. Okay, the next shot is of a new Earth Spacedock, with its large mushroom-like appearance and its new forward dome since we last saw it. It has to have been much larger since we saw it in the movies, just so it can fit all these new ships were much larger than the Constitution-class refit. What is amazing about this shot is it essentially honours all of the Berman-era Trek. All the ships orbiting the station are hero ships from the shows. This is a Defiant class, an Intrepid class, a Constitution class, and what looks to be an NX class. Very nice. The only registry we can see which is legible on screen is NCC 80107. This is close to the USS Titan's 80102, so it could be a Lunar class starship, and it's likely the ship of registry will appear later on in this season. For a while now, we have gotten a look at the Fleet Museum run by Commodore Geordi LaForge. We even got confirmation of that in episode 1 of season 3 by Picard himself. So that is a star base in orbit of the planet Anthem Prime. We almost get a good look at the museum, and it has multiple small rings around it, but used to dock some of these ships. Perhaps these are viewer rings. The starbase hosts a large number of notable Federation starships and preserves them in a museum. We get some references to this museum in season 2 with the Starfleet Academy ship plaques. On display at the ship museum, we see the original USS Voyager, NCC 74656. This was put into the museum after its journey from the Delta Quadrant, and after all its future tech was removed by Starfleet engineers. Another ship is the USS Pioneer, NCC 1500. This is a Pioneer-class starship and comes from Star Trek Online as a TOS-era ship, with its nacelles attached to a saucer and an underslung small secondary hull underneath the saucer. It's kind of a cool design. Now, the USS Enterprise A didn't get destroyed, and managed to retire to the Fleet Museum, which is amazing considering every other Enterprise usually gets destroyed. The original USS Excelsior, NCC 2000, is also present at the Fleet Museum, after being captained by Captain Sulu, the last we both saw of him in the Undiscovered Country. The next shot is of a transmission that Beverly sent at the very beginning of Season 3 to Picard. The transmission is encrypted and uses the Myriad codec, which they developed on the Enterprise D out of paranoia for hijacked comms. What flashes Picard's password of Picard 47 Alpha Tango, because all passwords in Starfleet require your name, a couple of numbers, and some phonetic alphabet letters, because, you know, security. In the first episode of Season 3, we get introduced to the very strained working relationship of Captain Liam Shaw of the USS Titan A and his first officer, Commander 7 of 9. Now we get to somewhat see the Starfleet officer performance evaluation from Shaw to Commander 7. What is interesting is Seven's name has been censored and the file has been marked as confidential. So what does this mean, and who knows? We're never sure essentially dead name Seven and make sure she's referred to by her former name, so perhaps this is why her official name of Seven is censored. With the next credit on the screen being Michelle Hurd, the things on the L cards are presumably her special handler sending her messages on her Starfleet intelligence mission, Operation Daybreak. The words on the L card display: do not seek blame, do not seek anger, weapon found on site, disengage investigation unit, something like that. What the do not seek blame, do not seek anger section, I don't know. This might be more about the path that Raffi is on in this story arc. She is trying to find a place to put her emotions now that she is spiraling, especially after the terror attack. She will probably be told, do not seek blame, and do not blame yourself for not preventing it, and do not seek anger. Weapon found on site. This might be the quantum tunneling tech, but was stolen from the Daystrom Institute, and used to carry out the terror attack we see in episode 1. Then, disengage investigation is pretty self-explanatory. Speaking of quantum tunneling tech, I believe that Nexum is some of that quantum tunneling tech we do see in episode 1. We see a wave function between two shapes, and the colour is almost identical to the colour of a beam that destroys the Starfleet installation on Mortalis Prime. The only thing here it says is predicted function, which I guess is just showing how it works and maybe it hadn't actually been tested in the field yet. Okay, so we do see a red alert symbol, which yes, we'll probably see a lot of the symbol throughout the series for the terror attacks and the Shrike attacking the Titan A. It's pretty standard, it hasn't really changed much, it just looks flashier now. The final image of the ending sequence is something called a microneurographic scan. At first, I thought this might hint at Picard's Irromatic syndrome, which was a degenerative disorder of the brain. However, Picard already technically died of this, and a synthetic body was created so he wouldn't have this deadly brain disorder. Essentially, it's just a body transplant to get rid of a failing organ. However, this does not have to be a scan of Picard's brain, it could be a scan of his son's brain as final confirmation that he truly is Picard's son. We've already had a fake son, an evil clone, but a scan for a brain disorder will confirm the truth as alluded to previously. Okay, that was a breakdown of the ending credits for Star Trek Picard Season 3. What did you think? Personally, these were a lot of Easter eggs and there's a lot to break down, also seeing how it will relate to the upcoming episodes of Season 3. If you want to keep up to date on the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thank you very much for watching and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper my friends, goodbye.